Testament Season 1 is off to an amazing start, and one of my favorite characters is actually kind of an antagonist. No, it's not Saul of Tarsus, although we will talk about him very soon. It is Esther, the mother of Stephen. While she's not a biblical character, I think she might be one of my favorites. So let's jump in.
Can I help? I'm James Zebedee, one of the 12. I know I've met some of you already. This is Mary Magdalene, one of the first followers.
Stephen!
Hi. I'm guessing you're looking for...
I'm looking for my son. Is he here?
I don't know if... Do we have a Stephen?
Mum?
Oh, my boy.
I'm here.
So, in case you missed our other episode, Stephen is the Stephen from the Bible. Of course, the Stephen who's going to do the things that Stephen does within the book of Acts. However, his mother, we don't really know about in the scriptures, of course, but she's added in order to give us a perspective of what she would be thinking about during this time. Now, Esther is a really unique perspective. Imagine that you are her, right? You're a Jewish mother who has just seen her son walk away from the Jewish faith and go toward this new messianic faith cult thing, right? If you're looking at it from her perspective, I think a lot of you would be just as afraid as she is during this time. And so I think her character gives a very unique perspective that we don't really get from a lot of other shows. In this moment here, she's searching for her son because he left her alone at the feast table for Shavuot. And now she's been looking for him all day, essentially trying to find out where he's been. And now he's with these kind of random group of people that are against her religion entirely. And she's trying to like figure out what is going on with him, right? Esther is such an interesting character to me. So let's continue on.
Be worried sick. You're okay. You're okay. Come on, let's go home. It's time to go home. We have to finish Shavuot.
Why don't we stay?
So imagine this, right? Imagine you're Esther and you're like, okay, we need to get out of here. These people are crazy. And then your son's like, nah, let's stay, mom. Mom, let's stay. You know, imagine you're seeing it from her perspective and you don't have a perspective on Christianity or that it's the truth. I would be just as scared as she is, right? For your son and for your family. And he's the only one you have, right? Because later on we see that his father is no longer with them, right?
Excuse me?
Mum, it's okay. Honestly, today has been... We're... all of us here. We've heard the good news.
And what news is this?
The Messiah, he's alive. Jesus is alive.
This face right here, this face I think encapsulates her whole character for me. It's just like, bruh, like what are you talking about, dude?
Jesus. But that's what this is about. You're feeding these people lies about that blasphemer. He's dead. You were there. We were all there at his trial. We all shouted, "Crucify him to the Imperium." What?
This is such a good point too, right? Esther is looking at the people that are around here that are now newly converted Christians. These are the people that probably were waving in Jesus during the triumphal entry, not even 60 days ago, right? And then now, like 50 days ago, they were just chanting to kill Jesus during Passover. And then now they're followers of Jesus. Like, what is happening here? Clearly the spirit is moving. We know that, right? But for her, who doesn't have the spirit, who isn't understanding what's going on, she's freaking out. She's like, you guys were just chanting for this guy to die, and now you're worshiping him as if he's what? God? You know, like it's crazy. It's a crazy turn that she's witnessing in front of her eyes, and now her son's involved with it.
Now you're here playing pretend. Well, my son will have no part in your heresy.
Mum, it's hard to explain, but Jesus is...
He's dead. He's dead, so you come home now. I saw him. Jesus.
So here comes Mary with the proof, right? Her proof of what's happening here. And she's going to give eyewitness account as well, which in the Jewish system, as long as you have 2 or 3 people that are witnesses with you, then that thing is believable, right? And so we're going to get her eyewitness account, but also the witnesses that were around her with James and John and everybody else, that they saw Jesus as well. And in fact, there was upwards of 500 people that saw Jesus during those 40 days.
I saw him the day he was resurrected. I sat and spoke with him. And then James, John, Peter, many of us, we spent the next 40 days with him until he returned to heaven. And now he's given us his spirit, the spirit of the living God. Why not stay?
That line right there, because I remember, I'm looking at this through Esther's eyes, right? Where Mary Magdalene's like, why not stay? I just imagine like this cult like coming to grab her, you know? Of course, I know that's not what it is. Of course, I'm on the side of the Christians, right? But I get in this moment why she's freaked out. Like, I can understand it.
If your father was still alive, he would be ashamed.
So doesn't turn out very well here in this moment between Stephen and his mom. Obviously, she's not super excited about this for sure. Next, we see her run over to Gamaliel's office. It turns out that she is used to be friends with Gamaliel, and her husband used to be close with Gamaliel here. So we see this here.
I'm nearby. I've got her.
This is Saul of Tarsus. We will talk about him next, so don't miss the next episode. I think he's going to be, obviously, one of the most important characters in the show, but he's really well done so far.
Have you quite finished?
Gloating, not even close.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to intrude, but Gamaliel, Minister,
Apologies, Minister. She ran past.
It's all right, Mara. Esther's the wife of an old friend. Thank you. What is it, Esther?
They're all in the lower streets.
Who?
Hundreds of them, more.
Who, Esther? Who are in the lower
The
streets?
Imperium.
No. Jesus followers.
Are you sure?
They were followers of the Nazarene, yes.
Isn't that the false Messiah you wrote to me about?
Yes.
Wasn't he killed?
Crucified.
Now they're saying he rose from the dead. Gamaliel, they're worshipping him. How many exactly, I'm not sure. I only spoke to one of the smaller groups where Stephen was.
Your son?
Your son is with them.
Gamaliel, please, keep my son safe. Help me bring him home.
I'll do everything I can, Esther. Inform the Chief of Staff. I'm calling an emergency meeting with the Chief Ministers. God willing, the High Minister will know what to do. Then take Esther to the minor chambers and wait for us there.
So here she's freaking out. She's trying to get Gamaliel's help. Now, Gamaliel, if you don't know, we'll talk about this way more in the Saul video, but he is a very prominent member of the Sanhedrin. He is the son of Shimon, who is the son of Hillel. And if you followed any of my content from The Chosen, you know that the school of Hillel is one of the most important schools in all of Judaism, okay? It goes Hillel and Shammai. These two schools are the two main schools of Judaism. Shammai is very strict and harsh, whereas Hillel is very soft and gentle and merciful, okay? That's the very, very elementary version of these two schools. Now, why is this interesting? Because Gamaliel, being the grandson of Hillel, is part, of course, of the school of Hillel. And so he's very gentle. He's very merciful. You can see him even here tending to Esther and taking care of her, whereas you're going to see in a second here how other people treat Esther as well. And this becomes a really interesting kind of moment here where we see the two schools fighting back against each other, while they're not really explained yet here in the show. And so Gamaliel, of course, is going to be a very important character. He has a very large part within the book of Acts, mostly because he is the teacher of Saul. He is the one that Saul learned under, and then Saul will have his huge arc within this show as well, which will be very, very important. Now, as we continue on, we'll get to this next section over here, and we'll see more of what Esther is doing along with the ministers themselves. We'll explain some of this as well.
I think it might be best to start, Gamaliel. I doubt Caiaphas will break custom to attend.
So these right here are the chief priests. These are the chief ministers, right? We're deciphering that. These guys here are not necessarily named figures within the Bible, but they are very important figures that kind of rule the Sanhedrin overall. Something that you're going to realize about these members is that Gamaliel is the only one with a green striped outer cloak here. Why is that important? Because the green stripe means that he's a Pharisee. Okay. Same thing with Saul. Saul is a Pharisee here. However, everybody else that's here is a Sadducee. Why is that important? Because the Sadducees are really the ones that hated Jesus the most beyond anything else, right? They really did not like Jesus, particularly because of how he talked about resurrection, because they don't believe in the afterlife. They don't even believe in normal, like heaven or hell or anything else. They just believe that it ends, right? And that there is no afterlife. And so the Sadducees here are really the ones that are kind of plotting behind the scenes along with Caiaphas to make sure that Jesus is taken care of and that this whole thing actually becomes hush-hush, which we'll kind of talk about here as well.
Rise.
So we see here, we're not going to talk about this character quite yet, but this is a very important character within the show. We do know who he is just from behind the scenes, but he's not really introduced quite yet in these first 2 episodes. However, this character that's walking in front of him is Caiaphas.
Minister Gamaliel.
So this is Caiaphas right here. He is the high minister, or in other words, the high priest.
Speak.
High Minister, firstly, thank you for making the time to come at such short notice. I know this is highly...
Gamaliel, cut the pleasantries. We should not be meeting today on Shavuot. We are only here because you said it was urgent. So speak.
High Minister, a report of a large commotion this morning in the lower streets involving hundreds of people claiming faith in Jesus.
I love this actor, by the way. This is the same actor who plays Adriel in House of David as well. I've also seen him in things like Rings of Power and other things as well. He's a very, very good actor.
The Nazarene.
Yes, the one we had the Imperium crucify. They're saying he's their Messiah.
Is that all they claim?
And here Gamaliel is kind of hesitating, but Esther begins to speak up, which, if you know anything about Jewish society, this is a huge no-no.
Saying he's raised from the dead, that he's been seen.
Silence!
So you can see how the Sadducees here, who are most likely closer to the school of Shammai in a lot of ways, how they are kind of yelling at her for even speaking out of turn, right? Whereas Gamaliel had a lot more mercy on her. So we're going to see things like that throughout the series, I'm sure. Here, one of the ministers definitely shuts her up very quickly.
You have no voice here. Another word and we will have you thrown out. Do you understand?
They claim he is raised from the dead. Esther here is witness. She went to find her son earlier today and found him with a group of these followers. She says they were worshipping him and declaring the Spirit of God is among them.
This was today?
Yes, High Minister.
How many?
We believe it to be over 1,000 at least.
So we know that it's at least 3,000 added to them, so it's over 3,000 people.
Her son is one of them?
He is associated for now, but probably just got carried away with the excitement.
This Nazarene was a heretic, as are his followers. Clearly, this little, growing movement has new leadership. Bring them in.
So this little growing movement, I love the references that they have throughout all of this episode of like, this is probably such a small thing. It's probably not a big deal, you know?
High Minister, we don't yet know who the leaders are.
No. But I have a good idea how to find out.
So now they're going to use Esther to help them find out basically what is going on with this whole thing here. Again, we're going to get back to Saul in a little bit. Let's actually go to this section here, talk about Gamaliel as they get to the end of the day here.
Wonderful insights this afternoon. I wanted to keep it simple and just get the message across the way that...
High Minister.
Gamaliel, It's a good catch today. Well done.
Thank you, High Minister.
All goes to plan. We should put this matter to bed in a couple of days.
Caiaphas, there was something else I wanted to ask.
It's been a long day, old friend. Can't we pick this up another time?
You're hiding something.
So here he sees that there's something Caiaphas is not telling him. And Gamaliel does not have the full picture of what's happening here, which of course he really doesn't so far. And so he's wanting to know.
You and the other chief ministers, none of you seemed surprised when I mentioned the Nazarene followers or what they were saying. Caiaphas, what are you not telling me?
Not here. Come to my place tomorrow lunchtime. We'll talk there.
So they're going to talk in a later scene, and he'll give him more information about what is going on then. Now here, this is a really, really interesting section here. Really looking forward to this.
You say the Lord is my refuge and make the Most High your dwelling. No harm will overtake you. No disaster will come near your tent. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways.
Now, let's talk about this. Okay, so she does this prayer right before we get into this section here, and we'll listen to it again, and then I'll show you the verse that this comes from. It's really interesting that they added this in, and I hope the connection that I'm making here is actually legit, because it's really, really cool.
No disaster will come near your tent.
I know it's hard to hear. We'll go over it.
To guard you in all your ways.
All right, so the prayer that she's praying here comes from Psalm 91, and she starts right around this section right here. Because you have made the Lord your dwelling place, the Most High, who is my refuge. No evil shall be allowed to befall you, no plague come near your tent. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. On their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. Now, does anybody recognize where else this verse comes from? Okay. Who is Esther in the show? She's obviously an antagonist. She's obviously someone who is against the following of Jesus, at least for now. And so here she's praying this prayer basically about Stephen. Like, I'm praying that you have made your Lord your dwelling place, that the Most High is my refuge. No evil shall be allowed to befall you. No plague come near your tent, for he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways, right? And then she kind of gets cut off here as she gets into this next section. But where else do we see this where else do we see this passage take place? Does anybody know? Well, it comes up here in Matthew chapter 4, but it's not a nice person that is repeating this verse. It is the devil himself during the temptation of Jesus right here. So then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness and tempted by the devil. And after fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. The tempter came and said to him, if you're the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread. But he answered, it is written. And then he says in verse 5 here, then the devil took him to the holy city and set him on the pinnacle of the temple and said to him, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written. And where does this come from? He will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. So this is Satan that is saying this prayer, that is saying this verse here. And now, guess who's the one that is repeating it in this section? So we get Esther kind of being made to be an enemy here. She is made to be an antagonist here. I think that's intentional. If it's not, you guys can take that one on me for free. But I think that's intentional, that she's saying these words of basically Satan during this time as well, which is really interesting to me. And so we get this temptation moment here, kind of flashback to this here with Esther. So I don't know. I think that's really interesting.
Mum. Think nothing of it. You're back now. There's leftovers in the fridge and sliced.
So right here, she says, think nothing of it. Like, let's not even talk about it, right? Have you ever had a mom who's done that before? Like, just forget it. I don't even want to talk about it. Let's just get over it. Let's move on to the next thing.
Of cheesecake. I can heat up some
Mum?
soup. You must be free.
We need to talk.
No, we don't. We've all done stupid things we don't mean and got carried away. I know. But you're back now, so there's nothing to talk about.
So you can see here in some of these scenes, I wanted to point out as well, you can see kind of the era that we're in. For example, these fridges are like from like the 60s, maybe a little bit earlier. And so we're getting some older relics with these refrigerators, for example, but then we have more modern technology, and then we have also future technology. So you're going to see, I think in episode 2, we see a little bit more of the cars that are in the area. These seem like modern cars from today. But then you also see future technology, like some of the ID scanners or the fingerprint scanners, as well as like the weapons that the Romans use, for example. All these things are like future technology, which is kind of cool as well.
Nothing to talk about.
I didn't get carried away. What they're saying about Jesus, it's true, Mum. I know it is.
Sweetheart, I know what those people are telling you sounds wonderful, and of course you want to believe it, but Stephen, you're smarter than this. Look around. If that Jesus was the Messiah, why is the Imperium still here? Where was the victorious battle? Where is he now?
Yeah, so what is she doing here? She's bringing it back to how the Jews thought the Messiah would be. If that guy was really the Messiah, why is the Imperium, or in other words, the Roman Empire, why is the Roman Empire still here? What wouldn't he have defeated them in battle? Wouldn't he have become the king of the Jews and of all of Israel? Wouldn't he have a kingdom that is never going to fade away? Well, what's happening to that, right? Where is he? Because remember, the Jewish people had this idea that Jesus was going to be this conquering king to come and destroy everything that was here in order to make room for something new, right? In order to make room for what his kingdom was going to be. And the truth is, he came as a suffering servant. That is why he came. And then he will come again. And when he comes again, he will be a conquering king, but not yet, right? Not yet. And so Esther has just a wrong view of what is kind of going on here when it comes to the Messiah in general. So she's trying to convince him logically, like, hey, obviously he would have done this if he was the Messiah.
I don't know.
You see, God gave you a brilliant mind. I knew it from the day you started reading on your own, 2 years old. That's when your father and I started saving everything we could for your schooling. Don't waste it.
It's deeper than that, Mum. I can't quite explain it just yet, but I will.
I love this line here too. I can't quite explain it just yet, but I will. The reason why I love this line here is because Stephen is in the infancy of his faith, right? He doesn't know how to explain certain things when it comes to, what his faith is or how he can walk out his faith or how to defend his faith quite yet. He's literally been a Christian for less than 24 hours. And so he's saying that he doesn't know how to explain it quite yet, but he will understand it. And we know that he will, because Stephen, spoiler alert, Stephen will die preaching and forgiving and spreading the name of Jesus. And so I love this moment here to show that he is going to grow. Just a beautiful thing.
One day, I know it's true. Here is... It's something old, and yet something new.
Something old and yet something new. This is one of the main things they use in the trailer as well. Something old referencing the Old Testament and how the scriptures point to Christ from the very beginning of time. And yet something new in the church and how it's being built and what's going on right now and how God is moving in a new way. The Holy Spirit is here. Now things have changed forever. And so something old and something new.
I'm not making any sense. We can go to the temple tomorrow afternoon. 2 of Jesus' friends are going to be preaching there. Peter, he's the one who spoke to us all this morning. He'll be there. Just come and listen. He can explain.
So here he tells her exactly where they're going to be tomorrow, what's going to be happening, and how Peter is going to be giving another speech. Basically, he's going to be preaching again at the temple tomorrow.
Ask him anything you want. Please.
Get out.
What?
I said leave.
But, Mum...
No, if you're going to believe these ridiculous lies, you're not welcome here. How dare you? After all our people have been through for centuries, carrying our faith, our God, our very existence. I have seen movements like this come and go, time and time again. They are nothing. You are nothing. If you choose to believe these blasphemers, you're not my son.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, harsh language here, but you have to understand where she's coming from. She is a devout Jewish woman, okay? You have to understand the Jewish society here. She's a devout Jewish woman who now her son is falling for one of these hundreds of random messianic, fervors. And so she's like, okay, if you're going to follow that, you need to get out of my house. You need to leave right now, right? She's probably very hurt by what he's doing here because she doesn't understand.
No, this is for your own good. You come home when you're back to your senses.
Come on.
Out!
The temple. Tomorrow. Please.
So we see here that this is one of the temple guard. I'll kind of explain. Since we didn't go over in this section here, the temple guard, of course, are trying to figure out, just like we saw with the council earlier on, the ministers. They're trying to figure out what's going to be happening. Where can we find the leaders of this, Christian movement, essentially? And so here, Mara, who is one of the temple guard, was hiding in wait and hearing everything that happened with Stephen here. And so now she knows where the next preaching is going to take place so that they can be ready to apprehend whoever it is that is going to be doing that.
Well done, Esther.
So that's the end of that scene there. And I think that's where we'll stop talking about Esther here. But yeah, really, really interesting character overall. I really love that last scene. While it's heartbreaking and it's hard, and you may not like Esther, I think that it adds so much to the show. And it's such a unique relationship that they have. Because we don't really have a relationship like that in a show like The Chosen, for example. Most of the family members, the people that are surrounding the people that want to follow Jesus, they don't really have a problem with them doing so. I guess the closest one that would be to something like this is like Simon the Zealot's brothers, for example. But it's not as emotional, right? They kind of come to try to stop him, and then he evades being killed by them, and then he's able to convince them to go away. And so we don't really have a relationship in which, for example, let's take in The Chosen, what if Matthew's parents hated him for following Jesus, right? Instead of following Jesus themselves, which is what happens in The Chosen. So it's a little bit different than any relationship I think we really have in The Chosen. And like this huge barrier for someone that is trying to follow Christ. Now they have their family members in front of them trying to physically stop them from doing it. And so it's just an interesting relationship, I think. And it really is a cool kind of way to add in some tension into the show that is very realistic when it comes to people that want to follow Jesus. And so yeah, really, really cool section there. Let me know what your thoughts are about Esther. And of course, if you want to see more of these deep dives, we got them on the channel. If you want to see our Chosen deep dives, go check those out too. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.